everyone. Welcome to livealittlehigher.com. Celebrating Shavuot. It is the holiday, the season of the giving of the Torah. It's known as the giving of the Torah. And why is it the giving of the Torah and not the receiving of the Torah? Because Hashem is always giving us the Torah. He's there to give it to us, but we are the ones that have to accept it and we have to receive it. So we commemorate the time when 50 days after the exodus of Egypt, after the Jews left Egypt for 49 days, they were getting ready to be able to receive the Torah on the 50th day, on the 6th of Sivan. And on this day, the Jewish people stood at Mount Sinai and received the Torah from Hashem. And so from then on, Jews were a Torah nation whose chief occupation would be Torah study and observance of mitzvot. So the whole purpose of the Jewish people is Torah and mitzvot. That's it. That's our purpose. That's our mission. If you're asking, why am I in this world? What is my purpose? What is my mission? This is your purpose and this is your mission. So if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a mother, an accountant, a CEO of a company, if you are a taxi driver, an Uber driver, whatever you are, this is not your purpose and this is not your mission. This is only the tools that God gave you in order for you to fulfill your purpose and your mission. So through being a mother, if you're doing things the way Hashem wants you to do them, then you're fulfilling Hashem's purpose in this world by taking care of you, by having babies, by taking care of them, by taking care of your family, by making sure that they are loved and nurtured and given everything they need to become good people in this world. It's a huge mission. So if you're asking yourselves, look at where you are right now in your life, what you're doing every day, and make it purposeful and meaningful. It's not, people don't have to be around looking for a purpose and a mission. That doesn't make sense. It's whatever you are, wherever you are, doing whatever you are, do it in a holy way, do it in the way that Hashem wants you to do it. So even before this awesome event, our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, before the giving of the Torah, they used to fulfill the mitzvot. And as it says, our father Abraham observed the whole Torah before it was given, as stated, because Abraham listened to my voice and I kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my Torah. But there is a cardinal difference between the mitzvot that were taken care, that were performed by the forefathers, from the mitzvot that were performed by the Jews after the giving of the Torah. So what's the whole thing of giving of the Torah? Why did we have to do everything we did to be able to receive this Torah? And why are we commanded to keep it in such a way? So we're going to see. The Midrash states that when the Holy One, blessed be He, created the worlds, He decreed and said that the heavens belong to God, but the earth He gave to the children of man. So when Hashem, He created the world, He says the heavens are mine and the world is yours. So from there we see that, the spiritual and the physical are completely separate realms. They don't merge. They have nothing to do one with the other. Hashem is up there and we're down here, right? So then we see that Hashem wished to give the Torah, and when He wished to give the Torah, He abolished the original decree and said, the lower regions shall ascend to the upper regions, and the upper regions shall descend to the lower regions. And this is in the Midrash. So what happened? When Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov used to perform mitzvot, it was a holy, very spiritual act. But for example, there was not such a thing as a Torah scroll. There was not such a thing as a mezuzah. There was no such thing as tefillin. So they would keep the whole Torah, and they would strap a piece of leather in their arms. They would pray, and the minute they took it off, they would throw it away, because this strap of the leather didn't sustain holiness because it was a separate act. So what happens is that the heavens represent spirituality and holiness, and earth, everything physical and mundane. This was before the Torah was given. And so we see that the moment that Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, he removed this barrier of the heavens and the earth. He took it away. And so the giving of the Torah, Hashem, he made the physical with the capacity of becoming spiritual and maintaining its status. So we see that the heavens, that which is upper, would now be joined with the lower, with the earth, and the spiritual would affect the physical, and the physical would affect the spiritual. So whatever you do here affects the spiritual, and whatever happens up there affects the physical. So we're able to infuse godliness into the physical world because our strength to do so, unlike our forefathers, comes from God himself. So what happened? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they fulfilled the mitzvahs. They were known as the chariots of Hashem. They wouldn't do anything that God didn't ask from them. They were chariots of God. Like if you get in your car, the car is going to go wherever you take it. It's not going to go wherever it wants. It's going to go wherever you take it. So the same way, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob were like the chariots of Hashem. They would go wherever Hashem would take them. They would not complain. They wouldn't ask questions. They would just do it. We see it with the Akedah, with Abraham, that Hashem told him, take your son, your beloved only son, and go and sacrifice him. And he didn't even question. He just did it because they were chariots of God. And how could they come to become this? How did they ever become these very holy people? They became this because this is what they wished to do. This was their desire. They did it because they wanted to do it. And so we see that the goal of creation of a physical world where souls inhabit physical bodies. Imagine a soul is a spiritual entity that comes from a spiritual realm. It's an emanation of God, and it's thrown into this world. It's put inside a bottle, inside a body, which is like a bottle. It's put inside a body, and this body doesn't have any, like suddenly you see there's no, like you don't see the body, a person like a spiritual being. You don't see a person like a soul. You would see a soul or a spiritual being. You see a person as a person. And so it says here from the teachings of the Rebbe that the goal of the creation of the physical world, where souls inhabit physical bodies, is that the body should be cognizant of God, that godliness be revealed in the world, making it a fit dwelling place for the divine. And this is achieved through living in the spirit of the Torah. So the Torah, the world and the Torah are not separate entities. So for us to be able to serve God, not like our forefathers who did it because they wanted to be godly and serve Hashem, and they had a calling, and they saw things that they were in a much loftier spiritual level than what we are as people. Like they say that in the house of Abraham you could see angels. In the house of Isaac you could see, it was something that was normal, it was natural. And so for us to be able to connect to the divine, to connect to the spiritual world, to be able to connect to heaven, let's say, we need a medium, we need a Torah, and we need mitzvot. Because if we don't have a Torah and we don't have mitzvot, there's no way we can connect to godliness. This is our 911 call to godliness. If you want to connect to godliness, you have to call 613, which is the number of the mitzvot that Hashem gives us. So we see that it's not that one is not a Torah Jew only in an environment of Torah, and outside follows the dictates of secular society. So we see that Hashem doesn't want a Jew to be only connected to God when he goes to the synagogue or when he's learning Torah. He wants a Jew to be a Jew always, a full-fledged Jew, a person that even in his business, he's doing things with the halacha, with the Jewish code of law, fulfilling mitzvot, paying his employees on time, treating them correctly, not overworking them, not taking advantage of them. There's so many laws in business of how you have to behave that when a Jew works in this way, then he's making his life very holy and his business becomes very holy. So at Mount Sinai, it was the 10 commandments which were openly given to the Jews. We had the two luchot, in which on one side we had the first 5, which are the commandments between us and Hashem. And then we had the second set, which were the next 5 commandments, were our relationship with people, with the other people. So we see that the 10 commandments encompass the entire Torah. The whole Torah is bottled up in the 10 commandments. Every mitzvah comes out from one of these commandments. So the 10 commandments seem to be comprised of 2 very different categories. The first are, as we read, the first commandment says, I am the Lord your God, and you shall not have other gods. This is the 2 first commandments that we received. We received them directly from Hashem. Everybody heard him. It says it was such a supersonic experience that they heard with their eyes and they saw with their ears. That's how transformational it was. It was so like a hi-fi movie, one of these Hollywood 3D supersonic movies, and it was such a strong experience that it says in the Torah that the Jewish people couldn't contain their souls inside of their bodies. They died. They all died. They couldn't take more than 2 commandments directly from Hashem, and that's when Hashem said to Moshe, okay, I'm going to resuscitate them. I'm going to resurrect them. And he brought us back to life. And then the rest of the Torah was given to them through Moses. But the first 2 commandments were given to the Jewish people from Hashem. These are the first 2 commandments. So we see here that these loftiest expressions of God's unity, the rest of the commandments consist of such simple commandments as you shall not murder, you shall not steal. And these commandments, in the intellect of the human being, you could accept them. Like, yeah, anybody would come up with these laws. Don't kill, don't steal. It's not the right thing to do. We should not do these things. So God combined both categories in the commandments. And the 10 commandments expresses the synthesis of the upper and the lower heaven and earth, which took place at the giving of the Torah. Both concepts, the upper shall descend to the lower, and the lower shall ascend to the upper, are alluded to the upper shall descend to the lower, means the upper commandments should be present also in the lower, such as the prohibitions against theft and murder. That is the basis of the fulfillment of the later must be called, I am the Lord your God. So what he's saying here, the Rebbe, is that we should not observe the commandments because they're logical to us. Yeah, it's logical. Don't kill. Don't steal. Honor your parents. Don't covet your friend's wife. Don't feel jealous or covet someone else's possessions. This makes sense. It's logical. Any civil society would go by these laws. But what it's telling us here is that we keep the Torah not because of our human logic dictates, of our intelligence. We keep the Torah because God commanded the Torah to us. And that's why we heard the first 2 commandments from him directly. Because we keep the Torah because this is Hashem's will. Hashem's wisdom is contained in the Torah. And the mitzvot are Hashem's will. And this is the reason of our existence. There's no other reason. If it wasn't because the Jewish people were willing to go out of Egypt, and it was only, I think, 20% of the Jewish people that came out of Egypt, 80% died in the plague of darkness because they didn't want to come. And Hashem just created this plague of darkness and they died because there was no purpose for them anymore. There was no reason for them to exist. So Hashem took them out of Egypt to give them the Torah so they could come and fulfill the will of Hashem in this world. That's the whole purpose of it. And so if you're not fulfilling the purpose of Hashem in this world, then why are you here? There's no reason. And so it says here, the Rebbe teaches something very, very beautiful, very special. And he says that the upper and lower can be synthesized because God provides the strength to Jews to do so. He gives us a Torah, He gives us the mitzvot, and it's so close to our heart that we can do it. It's something that is natural for us. It's unnatural for a Jew to live a life that is not a Jewish life. That's what's not natural. It's not natural for a Jew to be eating non-kosher food. It's not natural for a Jew to not keep Shabbat. It's not natural for a Jew to not dress in a modest way. It's not natural for a Jew to be talking bad about other people. This is not the essence of a Jew. This is not our makeup. This is not what we're made up to be. So what it's saying here is that the word of the first commandment, the wording of the first commandment encapsulates everything there. And it says, I am the Lord your God. And then it says, who took you out of Egypt. But this, I am the Lord your God, is three relationships that we have with Hashem. So God, the word God at the end, represents godliness in creation. It represents the name of God, of Elohim. Hashem has different names. It doesn't mean there's different gods. It's the same God, but every name shows a different facet of Him. So it's like to say, oh, Margie she's sweet, but she's funny, but she's also very strict, So each facet would be given a name. So this name God represents the name of Hashem, which is Elohim, which the numerical value is the same numerical value to the word Teva, which means nature. And this is a finite representation of Hashem in this world. So Hashem, really, there's a oneness of God. I am the Lord your God means the unity of Hashem, like everything is a God. But God is also concealed in nature. And so the same, the umbrella that protects you from the shade is the same thing. The umbrella and the shade are one. It's the same thing. It's Elohim. And so what it says here is that God represents the godliness in creation. And it's the name of Hashem that is imbued in nature. And this is in the Zohar. And for this level of godliness is invested in creation, which God has set within the natural limits. So Hashem created a world that has a natural order. It goes with the natural order because that's the only way that He can make a world where people can have free will. If He doesn't make a natural order, then people would not be able to have free choice. We wouldn't have the Hira. Like imagine if you're eating a shrimp and you see that lightning is gonna strike you, obviously you're not gonna eat a shrimp. If you keep Shabbat and you're gonna make $10 million in 1 week, everybody will be keeping Shabbat. So Hashem creates a world with a natural order, so people have free will. So then the word, I am the Lord, represents the revelation of godliness which transcends creation, and it is that level where the past, present, and future, which normally cannot coexist, are all one. The Lord is infinite above time and place. So this is the name of Hashem that is Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the tetragrammaton, which is the infinite, infallible name of Hashem. So this is something that transcends, that is beyond our grasp. We can never come to understand Hashem's ways. His way of thinking is not our way of thinking, and we could never come to understand why Hashem does the things He does, because we're human and He's God. So that's that name of God. And then the I am, refers to God's essence, and which is so lofty. This part of Hashem is so lofty, that it cannot even be given a name. And so, as stated, when Moshe Rabbeinu saw the burning bush, and a voice was coming out of the bush, and this voice came and told him that he has to take the Jewish people out of Egypt, that he's going to help them. And when he says, okay, when I come to Pharaoh, what am I going to tell him? Who are you? What's your name? And Hashem answered him with that name. I am who I am. I am who I am. This is my essence. You cannot give me form, shapes, size, put me in a box. No, you cannot even understand what I am. So not only is this a loftier than the level of godliness as invested in creation, but it's also higher, as the infinite name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kai, which is the God here, but it's also higher than the revelation of godliness which transcends nature, that is given the name Lord Elohim. So the level of I is not limited to anything, not to nature, not to transcendence. It's beyond that. The essence of God is no more constrained to infinity than to finity. So to say that Hashem is infinite is also giving him a description. So this name of God, I, is beyond description. We cannot even say he's infinite, because the other name God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, you can say he's infinite. But this I is beyond infinite. We cannot even give it a description, because it would limit him, even if you say that he's infinite. So infinity, which is transcending nature, is also a type of constraint. And in that it is not finite. God's essence, on the other hand, is above both finity and infinity, and therefore can unite the two with finity and infinity coexistence. An example of this is the ark in the Holy of Holies. In the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, in the two temples, there was an ark where the luchot were contained in the Holy of Holies, in the Kodesh HaKodashim, which, although having definite physical dimensions, this ark, and it would look that it was finite, simultaneously took up no space in the Holy of Holies. So it was so spiritual. It had it didn't take space. So this is one of those miracles of the times of the temple. So this is the meaning of I am the Lord your God. At the giving of the Torah, this first commanding, Ani Hashem, I am the Lord your God, that every Jew is given the strength of the I. We're all given this strength that supersedes any constriction. Inside of you, there is a spark of Hashem. That is your essence. And that's where you take your strength from. This is where the strength of a Jew comes from. This is the strength of a Jew in times of Inquisition, where they tell the Jew, either you bow down or you're going to be killed to the cross, and the Jew prefers to die. And this is a Jew that never kept Torah, never kept mitzvot, nothing. He prefers to die. Where does this come from? Like, hello, where does a Jew have this capacity? I'm not saying they all do it, but that we have the capacity to give our life for Hashem comes from the I, from the Ani, from that part of God that transcends even infinitude, that it doesn't even have a name for it, because it would limit it. So the Jew is giving the strength of this I, which is not limited by or to anything, and Jews are therefore able to combine the level of Lord, transcending creation. We have the capacity to transcend. We have the capacity to go beyond the realm, the spiritual realm. Like, for example, Shabbat, we are transcending. We're leaving the material world and we're going into a spiritual realm. We have that capacity. And then you see that with your God, the level of God, which is Elohim, which is imbued in nature, this can be grasped even by the human intellect, and Jews must unite the commands, you shall not murder and you shall not steal. These commandments, we should not do them because they're logical, because they make sense, because intellectually I can come to understand them. I do them because because that's my essence, and this is what Hashem wants from me. And that's the whole purpose of giving us the Torah, that we can connect to that part of ourselves. And if Hashem wouldn't have given us the Torah at Mount Sinai, and He wouldn't have given us the mitzvot, and we wouldn't have said, Naseh v'nishma, we will learn, and then we will do, and then we will learn, imagine how avant-garde. Most people would say, no, I need to understand this in order to be able to fulfill this that you're asking me to do. But the Jews were not. They were there standing, and they said, Naseh v'nishma, we will do, and then we will learn. This is from the eye. And we see in the world, we see it, many things that were not acceptable, that were wrong. And they're still wrong, because the Torah says they're wrong. But the world can come to justify them and change everything and make them seem right. You know, for example, in China, many years ago, there was an overpopulation. They still have an overpopulation, but in those days, I remember I was in my 20s, people could only have one child by law, and they couldn't have more. And so what would people do? Like, for example, they all wanted boys, and if a girl was born, they would kill the girl or throw her in who knows where. So people can justify anything. People can justify anything. The human mind can justify any wrong under the sun. Any wrong under the sun. Like I was seeing in the news this week that there's people that want to cancel the mom word and Mother's Day. They're not moms, they're birthing people. Birthing people, please. Come on. Then they can justify it because no, it's offensive for other people that cannot have babies, whatever they want to call it. I don't know how they justified it, but hello, a mom is a mom. Who's going to replace a mom ever in the world? A mom is a mom. So here we see that the Torah is the only truth in the world, is the Emet of God. And when we connect to this Torah, when we connect to Hashem's wisdom, and we connect to Hashem's will, we're able to not only live in this world and make it a dwelling place for Hashem and make it holy, we're able to transcend the world and understand that we are above it. And not only that, we can even go farther to a place where there's no explanation of who we are. And that's our essence. So I want to wish you a Hag Sameach, a beautiful Yom Tov, that you should receive the Torah like a new toy, full of wonder and joy and inspiration, and that everything you do for Hashem, that you should be happy. Serve Hashem with joy. That's the biggest mitzvah. And in the Shavuot that we do this, that Israel should be protected, all our brothers and sisters in the land of Israel should be protected, and there should be no sorrow for anybody. So, Hag Sameach, and live a little higher. Thank you.